Good morning and thank you for being here. We're here this morning to announce a recent development into the cold case investigation known in many circles as the I-65 killer. This case began February 21st, 1987 with the murder of Vicky Heath, who was working the night shift at the Super 8 Hotel located in Elizabethtown, Kentucky. On March 3rd, 1989, the Indiana State Police investigated 2 homicides that occurred on the same day of similar circumstances. Margaret Gill, also known as Peggy Gill, was murdered while working the night shift at the Days Inn located in Maryville, Indiana. Jean Gilbert was murdered while working the night shift at the Days Inn located in Remington, Indiana. Numerous pieces of evidence were collected and preserved to include DNA, clothing, hairs, fibers, and ballistic evidence from these 3 cases. On January 2nd, 1990, a clerk working in the Days Inn located in Columbus, Indiana, was attacked in a similar manner as the previous 3 victims. This victim was able to escape her attacker and survived. She was ultimately able to give an excellent physical description of the suspect and details of the crime. Forensic evidence was also collected and preserved from this case. She is the only known victim to have survived the vicious and brutal attacks of this killer. One of the primary factors that linked these 4 crime scenes were their proximity to I-65, and for this obvious reason, the person who was responsible for these murders was dubbed the I-65 killer. As you can see from this slide above me, the evidentiary similarities and links are highlighted between the 4 cases. And we also have this on this display next to us. The Indiana State Police Laboratory subsequently matched ballistic evidence linking the Gill and Gilbert murders. The Indiana State Police Laboratory also later matched DNA evidence linking the Heath and Gilbert murders to the Columbus, Indiana case. Indiana State Police detectives recently requested assistance from the FBI's Gang Response Investigative Team, also known as GRIT. Many investigative and scientific techniques have either improved or been created through new technology since the 1980s and 90s. One of these methods is investigative genealogy. Investigative genealogy is the use of DNA analysis in combination with traditional genealogy research and historical records to generate investigative leads for unsolved violent crime. This was an investigative step that generated a significant and important lead in this investigation. Further investigation and kinship lab testing by the Indiana State Police Lab of crime scene samples positively identified the suspect. The match was 99.9999% positive. It is this scientific breakthrough that ultimately led to the identification of the I-65 killer, Harry Edward Greenwell. Greenwell was born December 9, 1944 and died in January 2013. Greenwell had an extensive criminal history and had been in and out of prison several times, even escaping from prison or from jail on 2 separate occasions. He was known to travel frequently in the Midwest. We have put the original sketch along with photos of Greenwell and a mugshot of him into the media packet that you all have been given today. We are not displaying his photo up here today out of respect to the victims and their families, and not to glamorize him any more than he already has been, or maybe in the future. Investigators documented significant events in Harry Greenwell's life to include law enforcement contacts in the following timeline. And that's displayed right here. These events were gathered by review of Greenwell's criminal history, historical police reports, historical Iowa Department of Corrections paperwork, which included some self-reporting by him, newspaper archives, public records, and the conducting of interviews by detectives. As most of you know, Interstate I-65 runs from Gary, Indiana, all the way down south to Mobile, Alabama. Investigators have long believed that there is a distinct possibility that there have been murders, rapes, robberies, or assaults that have not yet been connected to this investigation. Investigators are actively working with other departments in the Midwest to determine if Greenwell was a perpetrator of other violent crimes yet to be solved. So with that, I'd like to introduce Superintendent of the Indiana State Police, Doug Carter. Sir.
Gosh, there's so much that I would like to say that I'm not going to spend a tremendous amount of time. But to the family members that are here, I'm not going to begin to try to understand or say that I understand, because none of us do. But I hope that today might bring a little bit of solace to you. Know that the animal that did this is no longer on this earth. I'm not going to say his name. I think we need to focus on the victims today. It's amazing what happens over the course of generations. There's detectives in this very room that have been involved in this in some form or another, literally for generations. And they're owed a debt of gratitude that we can never possibly repay. But you know, their effort was for you. Their effort was for you and for those that remain. I'm the luckiest guy on the planet Earth to be able to represent this profession at this level. And I'm continually amazed, even though we fuss with each other, what happens when we all come together as one for you. For you. It's amazing what happens. The message is, you might be able to hide for a while, but we're going to find you. Even if you're not here. And I think one of the most amazing pieces of this puzzle is that this team of people that are standing on the walls on the outside of this and even behind me did the work for you after he was gone. So I hope today gives you that next chapter. I hope it's going to allow you to take that next step and know that while science is continuing to evolve, the dedication from people who are standing behind me is as strong as ever. And it's amazing what happens when you put the two together. So it's a pleasure to be able to stand here with you today. And again, I'm most grateful to all of those people over the course of now generations that have stepped up and stepped out for a successful conclusion